Seated in his office chair, Crowley let his lean frame sink back into a recline, his lithe body seemingly surrendering to the enveloping comfort of the chair. The soft material cradled him as if offering a sanctuary from the tumultuous thoughts that tugged at his mind. He tapped absent-mindedly on the box placed before him on the desk, his fingers taking refuge beneath his chin. "It's not the same," he murmured aloud, a trace of discontent etching his features as a frown creased his brow. The crease deepened, and it was as if the very act of confronting the box had stirred up a storm within him, a tempest of emotions he had long tried to evade. With a pang of realization, he confronted a pivotal juncture he had avoided acknowledging for far too long, the decision to plunge into the depths of the demonic realm without sparing a thought for the bond he shared with his celestial counterpart. A flicker of memory danced before his eyes, the image of Aziraphale's countenance, a portrait of heartache and abandonment, as Crowley had walked away from the gates of heaven without a second glance, or more truthfully in Crowley's case, strolling away with all the nonchalance of someone ditching a boring party. In an attempt to shield himself from the piercing pain of that vision, he shut his eyes tightly, as though sealing them shut could lock away the past. The words escaped his lips again, accompanied by a continued rhythmic tap-tap-tapping of his fingers on the box's surface. "It's just not the same," he muttered. "For Satan's sake, we didn't even really know each other back then." His voice carried the weight of regret as the thoughts reverberated through him. How could it be the same when they had been practically strangers in those distant days? Definitely not the same, he thought, his head swaying from side to side as if attempting to ward off an unwelcome thought from taking root. As his lips moved once more, shaping words that he had buried deep within him, "I didn't choose, I just hung around the wrong people," he sulked, the words carrying a mixture of frustration and resignation. His thumb began to trace the contours of the box's exterior, his touch gentle as he observed it with newfound appreciation. His eyes seemed to see beyond the material, recognizing the significance it held. Circumstances had shifted, time had flowed on, yet Aziraphale's steadfast friendship remained an unwavering constant. He couldn't ignore the weight of the fact that his friend had carried this keepsake for 6 millennia. A fracture seemed to cleave within him, but he swiftly veered away from delving too deeply into its nature. Instead, a swell of anger, an old and familiar companion, surged forth, filling the void that the fracture had exposed. The box landed upon the desk's surface with a sharp thud, as his relaxed posture gave way to a taut stance, coiled as if ready to strike. With a sudden, almost violent motion, he stood, the chair's legs scraping against the floor in protest to the storm that raged within him. His voice emerged, laden with frustration and accusation. "What have you gotten us into now, Aziraphale?" The words hung in the air, a mixture of concern and a hint of fond exasperation. Exiting his flat with an urgent stride, he snatched his car keys from a nearby table. His destination was clear, the bookshop awaited his arrival.